Hello, welcome to another episode of Daily Market Mastery with me, Christian Rauchenwald, on this Automy Monday. I hope you all had a great start into the new week. As always, before we jump into the markets, let's get the usual disclaimer out of the way first. Everything that I share in this live stream / video is my personal opinion and in no way financial or professional advice of any kind. You should always do your own research, consult certified professionals, draw your own conclusions, and make your own decisions. Besides that, all the tools that I'm using, so the broker, the charting software, the strategy I'm following, and so on, are all linked in the video description down below. And the one thing you definitely should check out is the Elliott Wave principle, which you can read online for free when you're using the link in the description down below. Now, with that said, we can jump straight here. Hi, Olga. Great to have you here. I hope you had a good start into the new week. And yeah, actually, before we jump into it, since we were last or during one of the last teams, we were talking about like different apps like Honeygain, Pawns app, and so on, and Storage to basically run a little bit of crypto or dollars on the side. I actually quite surprising, I shared it on Discord already. Got a call by the criminal police today because apparently our IP address got flagged over the last couple of weeks in, 16 occurrences related to the distribution of CSAM material, which obviously is nothing to be happy about. Quite shocking, however. So I mean, I obviously always knew that at some point one of the services or so that we are running that offer proxies, so like Honeygain, Pawns app, Mysterium network, and so on, that one of them could be used to route some traffic, not route some traffic, but to basically use it as a proxy or VPN to distribute some illegal or illicit materials. What, however, really surprised me is that nobody visited us or kicked in our door which was obviously good, to take away our hard drives and computers, and B, the friendly officer I talked to explicitly mentioned Mysterium network, so that apparently there has been some issue there. After the initial shock, me dropping my phone and having to call him back and whatnot, I obviously already shared the information in our Discord. And I also updated the blog post that I have about the monetization of my Unraid server and removed Mysterium from there. But additionally, I also checked, we can actually take a look real quick. So just a second. So I just want to cover this in the beginning of the stream because it's a sensitive topic. And so we have it out of the way. And I already shared it in the official Mysterium subreddit, and noticed, that's just a comment, that's not what I shared, and noticed that the team already made an announcement about it apparently already a month ago. So it seems to have been some of their, that's the surprising thing with Mysterium. You can enable B2B traffic, which should be only business traffic, and then there are separate switches for the rest of the user base, and so the whole issue affected also the B2B traffic, as they say, between April 2024 and August 24, which still falls into the area. I mean, obviously the police officer didn't tell me any specific date. He just said last couple of weeks, 16 times, the IP got automatically reported by whatever system they're using for that. So while the team obviously says they are sorry and they addressed the issue and they will add further security policies and whatnot so that B2B partners only can use or address limited destinations, or reach limited destinations. For me, that's enough. I appreciate I don't know how many couple of dollars I earned with Mysterium over the years, or we earned with Mysterium over the years, but it's not worth the risk of having the police confiscate our computers to verify that there's really no CSAM material on them. So didn't expect that. That phone call interrupted my day a little bit. But so for now, since that phone call came quite surprising, I actually disabled Honeygain and Pawns app for now as well, but I will either, if I manage today, but probably more likely tomorrow morning, also call that guy again and ask him if he's aware of other apps that we're using that are being used in that connection or not, And even if Mysterium would address the issue, not only is the, let's say, $1 to $2 per month earnings not worth the risk, but I also wouldn't run a service that I know is being used in that connection. Yeah, so not just for my personal risk, but simply out of principle that I don't want to support it. Yeah. So there obviously is now basically the IP has been flagged. So to answer that, yeah, and we had that quite friendly phone call that was quite surprising. And if there in the future would be again something, so if the IP gets flagged again, then we would obviously, then we might obviously get a house visit, let's put it like this, yeah. But there is no immediate issue here, so yeah. Obviously, if the IP would be used further or so, then again, like one thing would be receiving a house visit. The other thing might be, but yeah, there you probably would have to in quotes overdo it, yeah. Like, although I mean, not doing anything, just running an app, yeah, or did run an app. But then you might be maybe investigated for what's it, Beihilfe? What's the right word for that? Yeah, just so for no, there was already the right word. Where was it? Aiding and abetting. That's the legal term in English, aiding and abetting. So by basically enabling and helping and assisting. Although, to be fair, I mean, while that would obviously be more than just an inconvenience, because that would mean that there would be an official investigation if it were ever to get that far, whatnot, blah, blah, blah. But it would also, in my opinion, not lead anywhere because we or whoever runs the app is not willingly or knowingly or whatever. I mean, knowingly is now a different point after the conversation, yeah. Doing that, yeah. So which means it would likely lead to the whole investigation being shut down. But yeah, so that's why I asked about it so much, yeah, and always feared about this content. Yeah, so you see, like, I mean, just like when we were talking about the last time. So I feel the one thing I feel a little disappointed about here is that Mysterium specifically has the B2B traffic section, yeah, which should bring you, so because we obviously have to differentiate here. I'm actually going to switch to the chat screen for a second, yeah. So we always have to differentiate here. On one hand, you have apps like PawnZap and Honeygain or so, where if you want to use them to actually as a proxy, you have to pay in dollars, which means you have to pay with some regular payment method, which means they are not anonymous for you to use, yeah. Which means if they're getting abused or misused, then Honeygain has the data who actually was using the connection, yeah, which makes it way less likely that they're being used for anything illicit or illegal. Yeah? Mysterium network, on the other hand, is something where you earn crypto and the users are paying in crypto. So obviously they can, in quotes, buy the crypto anonymously. Yeah, they could, for example, on one hand run a Mysterium node to earn Mysterium, and on the other hand, then spend that Mysterium to pay for their own traffic. And voila, they would, other than a wallet address that has no other connections other than earning and paying with Mysterium, there would be no connection, which makes it obvious, or which makes it more reasonable to assume that a service like Mysterium specifically would be, yeah, used. I was actually more thinking about, like, torrenting movies or something like that. But yeah, I mean, obviously for other stuff as well. However, based on the project itself, I really assumed that their separation in B2B traffic, that they would have proper validations in place for their B2B customers to prevent this from happening. Yeah? And it's kind of like a little bit disappointing. So I obviously this kind of interrupted my day a little bit and my schedule and so on. Yeah. And on one hand, I'm not happy, but it's nice to see that my understanding of the whole issue was kind of correct. So running these services, in quotes, the worst case that happens is your IP gets used for something, and then in quotes you get a letter, a call, or if it's that kind of content, worst case, actually somebody knocks at the door, yeah. But you can then just point out, I've been running this service, other people can use the connection, didn't do anything. So as long as you don't have any illegal data, so in that case, CSAM content on your hard drives, you're quite good to go. Yeah, while an inconvenience, nothing with a long-term consequence. Yeah. So on one hand, I'm happy about being right with that assumption. On the other hand, it's obviously, a meh experience, even if it's just a phone call. But yeah, so that happened. And I shared it, I said, on Discord as an announcement and in the bandwidth or resource sharing category as well, specifically. So, but since you're here, I wanted to bring it up as well, since we were talking the last time. That doesn't, however, affect. So it's really specifically about Mysterium network in this case, which is kind of understandable considering the crypto nature of the project, but which is a pity because it makes it impossible to recommend the service further, because they should have done a better job in the first place to at least verify their B2B customers. They dropped the ball there, and with that, that's that. But yeah, I said I will probably tomorrow call the officer, detective, whatever his title is again, and just have a conversation with him about similar apps. So I said, like the other bandwidth sharing apps, I doubt that there is any issues with them, because then I would have already noticed it. In the Mysterium subreddit, there are apparently over the last couple of weeks or so more cases of people that receive nice calls or not so nice calls. But yeah, there's that. So let's do what we actually came here to do and look at my portfolio, which again has a slightly break-even start into the day, slightly red, but pretty much break even. We had last week's SPY and Intel option expire worthless, unfortunately. And now we have our $30 calls for GameStop, so our covered calls that expire on Friday. And then still our Novavax calls for January, as well as our Grab call for January 2026. And where do we start? Let's actually start here by Barnes & Noble Educational. We finally have a breakthrough through our deceleration trend line. It's nice to be right sometimes, right being in that case, or right meaning in that case that during one of our or multiple of our episodes, we predicted the turnaround area between $8 and $8.45 or $8.42.37, and made our own entry actually at the $8.45 mark. Also manually added a few more shares here at around $8.80. Previously, we already entered somewhere earlier based on the assumption that we knew we should be in wave 4 and then get a wave 5. Now we have almost certain confirmation that wave 4 is over and that we are now going to get 5 waves up. So we should technically now slowly move to a new all-time high, which offers us, even from here right now, still 40 or more than 40% upside. Our average is somewhere around 1050, so our position on average is still slightly at a loss. But again, from here, it looks like we're done with the pattern. The real confirmation will be once we break 1246. Then we have the next point of the confirmations of this pattern. So overall, if we recap the whole thing here a little bit, we have, let's actually do that. So I think it's a good exercise for Elliott Wave Theory in general. So we have what appears to be wave 1, wave 2 with a bounce. We don't fully reach here the 338. But with a wave 3 that likely ends here simply based on the big drop that we have here. So while the extension of wave 1 doesn't provide us with an exact wave 3 because we don't bounce on one of the usual suspects in quotes, when we're using probably Kennedy channeling technique, then we probably get what we're looking for. So if we take our starting points here for wave 1 and 2 with a parallel, we get our base channel, which gives us here then our confirmation, our breakout for our acceleration channel, which gives us our third wave. Now, why is there horizontal? Oh no, it's my cursor, so then we can take our point 1 with whatever high point we have and a parallel through our point 2. And whenever we get a breakout to the bottom, we would be in wave 4. Now we can see that the breakout doesn't happen here. So we keep adjusting until we are here. And this is the first time we actually have the breakout to the bottom to confirm our wave 4. And then from there, we can then add a deceleration trend line that in this case looks quite steep like this. And the breakout from the trend line confirms or points towards we are now in wave 5. And for wave 5, we can add 0.2 up 0.2, 0.4, so 0.2, 0.4 with a parallel through 0.3. And the fifth wave should touch at least the median, or in many cases, or in some cases, the top of that so-called destination channel for a perfect 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 using Kennedy channeling technique. Now, knowing that we just finished 5 waves, we actually that did the beginning slightly wrong, doesn't change much, but here we have the low 605 and here we have the low, no, both are the same, yeah. So it's either starting from here, 1, 2. No, it definitely starts from here, yeah. So anyway, fine. So since both have the same low point, doesn't matter if we have this here or if we have this here, yeah. So, but since we now have a clear 5 wave that according to Kennedy channeling technique is relatively perfect, we know that we're expecting a correction. Whenever we're expecting a correction, there are a few, not rules, but guidelines or, I don't know, like probabilities that help us here. So one of those probabilities is that very often the corrective wave will correct into the area of wave 4 of the previous impulse wave of a lower degree. Now the previous impulse is this wave 1. And the lower degrees, when we subdivide that into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So wave 4 of the previous impulse wave of a lower degree is this here. And that would be what we would expect for the correction to reach. So that's the first aspect. Yeah, that basically we would expect the correction to go as low as this, which would be the $8 mark in that case, because that low here is exactly at $8. Now, additionally, once we start to have that movement down here, it's possible to make the mistake, and which I probably did in a previous episode, to assume that our A, B, C might be finished here, yeah, which it was not. So this is only part of the correction as we figured out. But once we see this movement in combination with a little bit of a decline here further, we actually can use an expansion for wave A, wave B, and wave C. And wave C would, in the ideal case, reach the exact 100% expansion level, which you can see is at 831.24. And looking at it now, we went down to 831. So we got it spot on based on this forecast. Additionally, if there is an A, B, C pattern, we would expect that wave C subdivides into 5 waves, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then if we use another expansion for wave 3, 4, we get the target areas. Where are they? Yeah. The target areas for that 5th wave with a, in quotes, minimum target at 825 and a maximum target at 745. So considering not only this, but considering also that usually corrective waves, or not usually, but very often, either retrace 38.2 or 61.8%. So very often those are the turnaround points where correction finishes and we then make the next impulse. Sometimes it's the 50% mark, sometimes 78.6, and sometimes 21.4. But the most common one are 38.2, 61.8. Yeah. And so considering that we have the 61.8 retracement here at 842, we have the 100% expansion for wave A, B, C at 831. We have the minimum target for this 5th wave at 825. And we have basically our wave 4 bottom from the previous impulse wave at $8. We were able, I was of the opinion, or we were of the opinion that the correction will finish between 8 and 842.37. Under the assumption that maybe we don't fully reach the 61.8 retracement, I made my small order at 845, which proved to be quite a correct assessment. Now, we're not correct or we're not right all the time, and it's nice to have a pattern that plays out like this, where we, in quotes, got it right, and where even if we got in early here because we thought this is the entire correction just to 38.2, we now would have been able to average down with almost a perfect second entry, and or would have already been in the green again, because now the correction is over. So while we obviously cannot always be right, it's nice to have a case where the pattern turns out that well and where Elliott Wave Theory actually provided us with the right entry points to, I mean, unless we turn around here and I get proven wrong, just so for the fun of it, but to basically walk away with a more than decent profit once, or yeah, as long as our pattern holds up further, because then the upside here should be not too bad. If we zoom out here, we basically have what might be a wave 1, 2 of a bigger scale here. So we might right now be in a yeah, what would be the worst case assumption? Wait, so we are now on a daily chart. The worst case assumption would be that this will be an A, B, C corrective pattern. In which case we would expect expansion. We would expect, so then this would be only a corrective pattern to the upside, but we would expect to reach at least 14.19 and ideally actually 19.76. So in this case, this would be somehow 1, A, B, C, and then we go down further. Yeah. So that would right now be the worst case assumption. Based on the current pattern, if we again look closer, we could have our stop loss at the 831 low, which again from the current price would already be 17 or almost 20% risk. I get that. But on the other hand, we have to the $14 minimum target already 40% upside, giving us a 1-to-2 risk reward ratio. So not too bad. And to the upper target, close to the $20 mark, we have almost 100% possible profit here if we are right. Yeah, so much so good about Barnes & Noble Education Inc. With that, we can move on to GameStop, our usual suspect, where right now we're getting a little bit, yeah, I mean, we're still moving sideways. So we're waiting for actually some movement. I mean, we can see that the moving averages are getting closer and closer to each other. And the volume isn't really that high, yeah, compared to volumes that we had previously when there was strong movement. So we're just waiting for a move in either direction. I mean, I've already covered in previous episodes what I think is possible right now. Unfortunately, the down and the up scenario short term are possible. However, long term, I think that the worst case scenario would be down into the area of 1530, 1550, and then up. Yeah, so which obviously still could then mean weeks or months or whatever to play out like this. Yeah. We'll just have to wait and see how it develops. Now, moving on to immersion. Yeah, also unchanged. We're waiting for either a fifth wave push down or at least for a break of this trend line here to give us the chance that maybe we are finished with the corrective pattern here. It's one of the situations where I was at least partially wrong, because my assumption was, I mean, to be fair, I was wrong twice already in immersion. First, we hit the base channel here based on Kennedy channeling technique, which led me to believe that we might be done with an A, B, C corrective pattern here, especially since we were hugging that channel so tight for some time and not really making it through, just to then get this false spike and poof. And second of all, then based on this updated then prediction or analysis that this might be the free wave pattern, which gives us here the 61.8 retracement, which we again bounced from a couple of times, and the 100% expansion. So we're still in the same area. I mean, pretty much we are less than 10% below our second analysis in quotes. But from the looks of it, we might have or might need to get another push down to make this a 5-wave move. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But again, we are just now in a waiting position to see if it will happen or not. Now, Intel, I think we might still get to see the push down, but it doesn't do us any good anymore. So, yeah, like here we were partially right. And if it would not have been for an option trade, but if it would have been shorting the stock, we would actually be in profit, because we got our put option here based on A, B, and wave C still to come. We even got confirmation here with this low point, because it's lower than here, so that this has to be corrective pattern. And while we reach the minimum target for this pattern, I think that we still need one more wave down here. It's possible that that's not the case. It's possible that we already have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which means the correction is already finished. And we are right now going to look at the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 upwards. However, I still think it's possible that we get a little bit more of a push down, maybe to the area here between 2065 and 2091. Yeah, so that's my assumption here. I think this is the more likely scenario. If it's worth making the trade, I don't know. One could have the stop loss at the 2382, which is, I don't know, 5% or so roughly, whereas the take profit could be at 2096, so which also is like then 10% or maybe a little bit less. So it's not the greatest risk reward ratio, but it's definitely not bad. Now, no, I haven't addressed the chart issues yet, unfortunately, so we don't get a chart. We're still below 20, so we'll have to wait with that. Costs would be nice if we break the 879, because then we have somewhat of a confirmation that this indeed is something like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All it would need to subdivide is a diagonal when we're looking closer, but that would be the next step towards confirming or pointing towards an upwards pattern. Other than that, yeah, like we're still waiting a little bit. It's a big area here because there was a very strong move, so it's a big price area that is kind of like our waiting territory. I think we should still get long-term at least a move up, but it's possible that either I'm completely wrong, I mean, also happens, yeah, or that we first get something like A, B, C, so go further down to this at least 61.8 retracement. Either way, we'll just have to wait. Our cost exposure with $1,000 is, yeah, like, I mean, it's a decent chunk of the portfolio, but it's also, are there options in cost? No, there are no options in cost, PTR, but it's also not that big that we have to worry, especially since the loss, I mean, we are pending 17% loss on that position, so it's kind of like, okay. And I think that even if we were to go down further first, that we then would still have a push up, so we should be, in my opinion, able to eventually realize a profit on that trade. Yeah, so that about cost. Now, NEO, okay, still on the downwards track. I'm not sure the horizontal line that we have here, where, oh, that was here. That's an old one. We don't need that one anymore. Okay. Yeah, question is how far that correction will go. I don't think that it's yet done, so I think that this might be 1, 2, and then 3, 4, 5. So then A, B, C, and then we might actually correct further here. So 78.6 retracement would not be out of the picture either way. So I wouldn't enter just yet, or theoretically one could enter in tranches or so, because I think this is going to be in some form 1, 2, 3, 4, and 4 not finished yet, and then we still get away 5. But yeah, so we are staying out of it for now. Novavax remains to be seen. One of the things where I should have taken profits, again, another promise that I looked into, or that I would look into the trailing stops and whatnot for on Interactive Broker, which I didn't manage to do either. But at some point I will be forced to do, or I just keep losing money for not using them. But yeah, and yeah, Novavax unchanged pretty much. We got, yeah, surprised by the spikes down here that pushed us close to the 61.8 retracement. I still believe that overall this is going to be, as we see here, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 apparently not finished. Originally I thought it's finished here, and we entered here with our long call options. But yeah, here we got proven wrong. Question is this now the official end of that correction and we'll get to see our next 5 waves up, or is there still one more push to come for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we start to go up? And then the second big question is, will all of this happen before the options expire worthless on January 17th? Yeah, that's a big aspect here. NVIDIA, yeah, so still going up a little bit. We had that correction here. Honestly, a little bit confused with what I have in front of me right now. We can see that I labeled this as a big wave 1, 2. Potentially we're in this big third wave right now. And then that would potentially be the next 1, 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. Have to zoom in here a little bit to Oh, there we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's one wave, two waves. And now we're actually here waiting for a breakout. So there should still be upside. Yeah. And especially if we consider this extension here, then we would assume if we break the 144.18, I would assume or expect that we actually make it to the 164 mark. Might be worth an entry then or a call option trade. For now, I mean, I have my funds tied up in other positions, so anyway, couldn't do it right now if I wanted. But for now, I would say that would be the play in quotes. So again, do your own research. Don't bet your house because I think like that. But I think if we break the 144.18, so today is a bad day for talking in general. Visually break through. So have a candle that closes on top of it and the next candle not go below it, then it would potentially be a good entry to up to 164 or maybe even 170. So yeah, but since I don't have the extra funds available to do that trade or whatever right now, I'm not going to look into that too or much more. SMCI unchanged, so check out previous streams for that. And now let's jump into SPY. There we also had put options that expired on Friday. Today we have the 21st, yeah. And right now we have two options here. Either I just got it early and this is not ABC or might still be ABC, but it's possible. So either the correction finishes here, which based on Kennedy channeling technique would be 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're still getting wave 5. Or this is only wave A, B, and there is still wave C to come a little bit further down. Both options are quite interesting here. Sorry, so if or when we break the 585.39, we would in quotes have confirmation that this is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In which case there's still a little bit of wiggle room then, because when we break the so again, the 585.39, our minimum target would be 586.66, and the actual expected target would be 589.45. Yeah, so there might still be a play possible then. On the downside, one could short from here with a stop loss here at that high, and the down target would be expansion for this move here. I'm not going to add it right now, but a good point would maybe be 581, yeah, so to consider as a to close that position, and yeah, maybe then even reverse the position and go long instead. Yeah? So, but yeah, like, I mean, there we see our options expired worthless on Friday, and considering the movements, it looks like there might have still been a chance for them to turn out profitable. I mean, yeah, not in time. So there is again, well, the options offer the benefit that you have a limited risk, but the time factor is the harder one, because if you want to have more time on your option, it becomes more expensive, which means you need bigger movements to become profitable. If you're willing to work with a shorter time frame, the movement has to happen, or the expected movement has to happen faster, or even if you're right a day later, it doesn't help you, your option is already worthless. Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna try to learn from that. And then Nasdaq looks quite similar on first glance. So like a 1, 2, 3, 4, and then wave 5. While that corrective wave here may not be finished yet, so this could still turn into an ABC. From the looks of it, I would assume that it's already, what am I looking at here? There's the big expansion, and then there is the small one that gives us the target at 2700. And then we could add another one that would likely be from here to here to here. And we can see we have an overlap of the minimum target from the bigger expansion and the maximum target. So unless that correction is not finished yet and we'll get another push down here, I would assume the next target is between 20,740 and 20,856. Yeah. So we should then get to see something like 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 to get us up here. So similar to this move here in quotes. Yeah, maybe a little higher, but that would be the area that I would expect. Yeah, and with that, I've almost lost my voice, and yeah, so for today, because I already had a couple of calls earlier, and we're pretty much done with it. There are no requests for reviewing specific things, and I actually would like to get the things done that I actually planned today that got interrupted by surprising calls, as I mentioned earlier in the stream. Yeah, there's not much more to it for today. For our portfolio, it's going to be another boring week until GameStop starts to poke it with a stick and do something, you know. And yeah, like, thank you. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, no, I cannot say that here. Yeah, like, never mind. But yeah, so it was just surprising. I actually had like today I felt we had like 3 interviews with project managers in the morning, and then I had a call with my new assistant to brief her. So I was like already on so many calls, and it was after lunch. I was just so sleepy that I decided to take a nap for 20 minutes, you know, like Mittagsschlaf. And so obviously being woken up and seeing the phone number, I actually thought it's my accountant calling because it's from the same city/village, the number. And then just, you know, like having the police on the phone. Yeah, it could be worse. So yeah, but anyway. Thanks for stopping by, Olga. I wish you a pleasant rest of the day. Maybe we get this week to chat a little bit more on Discord. So yeah, you also have the chance to share more of your forecasts and so on. Yeah, I would not mind if you do that in the investing channel there, to be honest, and then we can discuss it a little bit. And yeah, so all of you have a great day. See you tomorrow with another episode of Daily Market Mastery, roughly 5 minutes before the markets open, or the Nasdaq market or the US markets open. Yeah. And yeah, don't forget, like, subscribe, enable notifications. Till then, bye-bye.